What's good with it? It's your boy, Simon Phoenix. This is Shots Fired. What up? What up? What up? So, normally I say I'm digging in my bag. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to bring to you guys, something new, someone different. But something else kind of sparked my interest this week. So I got a friend that's been a friend of mine for many years, and I have watched him grow. And when I say I've watched him grow, I mean I watched him go from being the hot young MC coming up to leading DJ in the city to now being a guy who has taken all of those things and combined them into several different businesses, to now even stepping over and saying, hey, looking for a way to learn about firearms? Come talk to me. So without further ado, DJ Composition, what's good with you?
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Happy to be on the show. I appreciate you.
Bro, we appreciate you coming to the show, man. We appreciate you coming to the show. So I just want to say thank you for coming on.
No, it's all good. My pleasure, man.
Well, let's get right into the meat of it, as they say. So I personally know you as by another name. And so,
indeed, yes, you do.
So I've known you so long that for me, when I see your picture, I see you talking about any business moves, I always be like, there go Nick Fury, instead of
exactly.
DJ Composition, because I've known you that long.
Right.
So
yeah, Nick Fury.
So look, let's start there. What made you pick up a classic Marvel character as a name before people knew who he was, before he became a household name? You had picked
definitely that. Yeah, exactly. I've always been in the comic books, and I just been a nerd my whole life for the most part. I enjoyed Marvel, DC. I was always into it, and just the Fury part just kind of matched well with me, because just with my rhyme style and my delivery, just like I was like, I need something that's gonna get some attention and just kind of match the energy, because I always like tried to bring as much energy as I could when I was doing my rhymes or in ciphers, stuff like that. So
okay, because on my end, right, you as a rapper, let's start there, and I'm not even gonna call you a rapper because I feel like that's disrespectful to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You as an MC,
mm-hmm.
that I found it interesting because I seen a lot of myself in you from that standpoint. I was like, when I first met you, I was like, that's Nick Fury? I don't even know if anybody in the room might know who Nick Fury is but me. I'm like, interesting. Heard you rap, was like, oh, okay. I feel his swag. I got the energy. I know what's going on. He vicious with it. Trained out of old school hip hop. I got you.
Definitely.
So then the more I've been around you, I seen why it really fit. We've had conversations about comic books and stuff. And yes, I would say that you are someone I could go to and pull out an obscure character and have an intellectual conversation with.
Definitely. I mean, it's been part of my DNA since I was a kid, man. I used to go to parties and ride my bike up there and get comics, and it's just been part of my DNA since I was a kid, because I always was encouraged to read, and comics was always one of the things that I leaned on. So learning the different characters and then watching the cartoons, even like they only gave us a little bit, but I enjoyed it all, and it's carried over to this day in my adult life. So,
well, that's what's up. I always tell people, those who read comic books get a leg up on life in comparison to those that don't. And the reason I say that to people is because when you read comic books, there are two things that happen. One, you have to learn what they're talking about in a greater sense. So when
Right.
they're talking about science, you have to go to school and ask your teacher, well, what is radiation? I've never heard of that. And then they'll
Right.
give you some game, right? You're seeing words that you're not used to seeing be used, and concepts you're not used to being seen used. And for a lot of
Right.
people, those are doorways into other things.
Absolutely.
And so I always say comic books give you that space to learn those things. So I always find that interesting that people who love comic books are always very bright individuals. So speaking of comic books, right? Talking about comic books, as a guy that has a name wrapped around comics myself as being the Phoenix,
Right.
what made you jump into hip hop as being a rapper? What made you want to be like, I spit hot flames, baby. I'm gonna bring that to the show. What made you want to do that?
I think ultimately with everyone, you started out as a fan and you had a deep love and appreciation for the art or the culture, and I was exposed to it at a young age, and I just like fell in love with it, and that love grew to a point where I was like, you know what, let me find this as a way to express myself, and it just went from there. So it just most people who do hip hop or music or anything, production or whatever, it started as a love or you were a fan of it. And ultimately, like most conversations I've had with other artists, whether they were, homegrown or on a international platform, one of the conversations that always kind of gets going is what inspired you, who's your favorite, just different things like that, because we all started out as fans.
Okay. I can accept that, and I will probably say that's the best answer I've gotten for that question. Um, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Like
No, it's all good.
most of us go into who was the first person we were a fan of, and that's the door opener. And you went to
Right.
the actual answer. You were a fan, and that
Right.
makes more sense than me saying LL. Right, like
Right.
it in a bigger space. Like, yes, LL is the person that opened the door for me to make me say, oh man, I like this thing, what else is in
Right.
here? And you are giving me the nah, baby, your fandom. When your ears perked up the first time you heard hip hop,
Definitely.
that opened all the doors. And that to me is a greater answer. So I applaud you, because I'm normally, like I said, I'm normally giving people. So let me ask you this. How long did you actually participate as a active rapper? Not to say that you're inactive, because who knows, you might got a project brewing in the pot.
I'm inactive as hell. The last project that I did where I was rhyming was a project that I did with my bro Troy Caesar and Ran Rue, and we basically did the purple tape. We recreated that. I want to say that was 2014,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay.
That
That's not
that
that
was
far
probably
away,
like the
bro.
yeah 2014, 2013. Like just time started running together, but like that was the last time that I was on something and I rhymed and just was spitting. So that was like the last thing, and that kind of after that I just had transitioned more into like the DJing aspect, because like that's where like my passion was leading me, and like ultimately I feel like I never wanted to be one of them MCs who just like kept babbling and didn't have anything new to bring to the table or new to say or bring a fresh perspective. So I just kind of was like, you know what, let me go this way.
Okay.
But you never know. But you never know. You know
You never know. It's always a possibility.
that one beat might catch you, and Troy done cooked up a few where I was like, oh, then I'm like, I'll just keep that in my head.
Well, look, I'm gonna tell you from somebody who's a fan. Please come back. Please come back. Hip hop needs you. You
Well,
never
I
were
mean,
you never were babbling, and I get what you're saying. Like, as an older person in hip hop, I've always took the idea that, look, hip hop is based on intellect, And since it's based on intellect, my age has nothing to do with my intelligence. There is a market
Absolutely.
for everything in hip hop. There are people who are still riding around, myself, put my hands up, banging Nori, right? There's people who are still riding around banging Snoop Dogg second LP. So
Absolutely.
there's a door and a place for everybody in hip hop. And what's beautiful about the game now is, as soon as your core audience finds you, you're off and running. Yeah, they locked in and you're off and running.
Yep.
And so, there's always a door for you in the game. You can always come back. That's what I'm saying. I said all that to say, baby, you could come back.
I got you. I'm picking up what you put down. Yeah, I mean, and the dope thing about hip hop is that it's still young, but it's growing. So like now, it's transformed and matured into something that's for some people who are older and then younger, and you find that bridge between the 2 generations or 3 generations or 4 generations, just depending on the ages, where you find like, oh yeah, they just redid this song from back here, and then you play the original, and so it's a rabbit hole of just like bridges and connectivity. You know what I mean? So that's dope.
Definitely.
It's super dope in that aspect. So, I definitely like the fact that, we are accepting that you can be 45 and still be an MC or love hip hop or do hip hop, or, it's still available for you at that age, Now, granted, it's some stuff that the younger cats are doing that I think is cool, but it's just like movies. Everything you may like horror, some person might like sci-fi, and that's okay. You still enjoy the movies. And when those opportunities come where it's a horror sci-fi movie, y'all enjoy it together.
That's a beautiful perspective of the game. I've always looked at it like there's room for everybody. And definitely. Your analogy is probably 100% on point. And I could say, as a artist, the group that makes me think that is Gravediggers. You took horror and put rap together and was like, yo, this is the thing. And it was dope.
Yeah.
So,
and they did it. I mean, and people vibe to it. I mean, hell, even if you look at groups like, granted, it was never a favorite of mine, but I mean, you look at the success that Insane Clown Posse had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they had a thing, and they mixed something together, and like people. Now by any stretch, am I saying they're hip hop? Not at all. But I'm just using them as an example of taking something off the wall and making it their own. And even with some of these the younger cats in the generation, they're finding their lane, they're finding their perspective, and they're expressing themselves, and I'm okay with that. I think that there has to be a common ground between the generations where the older cats are like, all right, you doing your thing, young dog. Keep doing it. Just know that we did it, this, and this. And then the younger generation has to be willing to be receptive to how things were done, where it's kind of like a mutual respect. Like younger cats want all this respect in the world, as well as the older generation, but no one's willing to be open-minded for the other side, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think that what we have is a unique situation, right? That you have the people who, for a basketball analogy, are the 96 Bulls. And that's everybody coming out that 90s era. You're the 96 Bulls, and a basketball historian will tell you there's better teams. There's teams with more talent. But that is a monumental team in the history of basketball. And our time period was that. And so for us, we're kind of like watching LeBron James. And when you hear the comparison Michael Jordan, LeBron James, for older heads, you just like, bro, don't do it. Bro, don't do it. They're two different animals. And older heads, we feel some kind of way with the comparison. That's where our issue comes in a lot of time. We're like, they not us, because we was built differently,
Right.
And
the rules were set up differently.
Exactly. The game was totally a different game, And still using basketball as an analogy, we came from you can hand check, you can push you.
Right.
That cat's gonna talk real shit to you. I'm not your friend until I bump into you in the bar in off season. Then we back to kicking it, bro. But as soon as the season start, F your mama, F your kids. I'm trying to dunk on you, right?
And you over here, I'm over there, and that's what it's gonna be.
Exactly. And they're from that era of, I played community ball, I played AAU ball. I met this dude that live in California, but I live in Michigan. We on Twitter together. I talk to him every other day. They have different friendships and bonds, so they see the game different. It's played different. There's different rules now. You can't hand check. You can't be pushing on people. You can't. It's not going to be rough and tumble. So we as fans, we looking at it all and being like, it's the same thing. But the people that's involved in it are like, nah, it's different. And it's hard for the old heads to give respect, and it's hard for the youth to see what we made a way for. And so we got to get to that, like you said, that medium place to say, I respect what you doing over there, the baby. I respect that, bro. Do what you doing. I enjoy your songs. I'm here to ride with you. And as old heads, we want him to say, hey, I respect you, Jay-Z, and I respect the fact that you opened up the business lane so I could get more money and more streams, and that I know more ways to keep them out of my pocket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that the business end of the culture of hip hop is way different now. 'Cause you literally, if you're willing to put the work in, you can be a straight independent artist with all the control and make a living. I mean, like, one of the artists that I respect the hell out of on a independent level is Tech Nine.
Oh, good call.
Because and I'm gonna tell you why. Because me and my brother DJ Omega Supreme, we went to a Rock the Bells concert years ago, and they had like a heavy hitter lineup. We talking about like Nas, Damian Marley, Busta, Outkast, Reflection Eternal, like just a whole bunch of people, right? And it was crazy because they literally was having some issues with the sound during most of the performances. And Tech Nine came in and, like, he was so proactive with his approach and how everything was put together. Like, he had an additional sound engineer that traveled with him. Like, their set was like the only set that didn't have any issues because he was there before everybody, and like everybody was a fine-tuned machine. And then when he rolled up, he literally rolled up with U-Haul trucks with his album plastered on it, had several booths with like merch and CDs and everything else. And when he got done performing, he went to the booth to sign autographs and sell more merch. And like, to see some of the things he's been able to achieve, like, he literally has a whole complex where he does everything in-house. Everything.
I'm gonna tell you who he really is. Ain't nobody ever said this analogy, but this is who he really is. You ready for it?
Give it to me.
On the low, he the Prince of hip hop. A lot of the things let me explain.
No, I'm receptive. Go ahead.
A lot of the things that he did business wise were blueprinted by Prince. That he was like, oh, this how y'all play the game? Okay, well, all the things that you said, he said, okay, I'm gonna get my own beat makers. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna build me a studio. I'm gonna build me a place for my people to come. I'm going to invest in the trucks. He was, and the reason I say that is because he was one of the first people I seen do what you talking about. Like, I seen dudes do regular hip hop stuff. Hey, I did my show. I got shirts to sign. I'm gonna come out, sign the shirts, pass out CDs, sell them, whatever.
If they did that.
Right. If they did that. But I'm a little older than you, so I remember when you had to. Like, the in-store signing was super important. I just got done watching. It was everything. I just got done watching Red on Drink Champs have that conversation. Like, it was everything. Like you said, it was the most important thing. So I come from that era. But
one of my favorites.
I watched Tech Nine do it all in a way that was way bigger than everybody else for a long period of time. Like, we are watching the blueprint. And so that's why I compare him to Prince, is because Prince was the blueprint. If you want to be a successful artist, Follow what Prince did, not necessarily musically, but how
Right.
he
But just
wanted the
the business.
control, the visual, the business end of it.
Yep.
He said, I'm
Yep.
going to control my brand because my
Mm-hmm.
brand is the most important thing.
Yeah. He was talking brands in the 80s before that word even became part of pop culture.
Yes.
You know? So yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, and even at his complex that he has the ability to literally print his own merch on site. Oh, we want a red strange music shirt or some shit like that. He's printing it in house.
Yeah, that's the way. The reason why I said he's Prince. He's the
Yeah,
blueprint.
no, so
Everything you saying, we doing right now. I'm watching dudes like King Caution do the
yep,
exact same thing right now. And that's
right,
because technology has caught up to the point where we can go out and say, "Oh, I'll buy a printing press and I can go to the local shop or get online and find t-shirts and I'll print my shirts up myself."
right,
So I'll spend the band on t-shirts, but if I sling all of the t-shirts, then it's worth $5. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
definitely.
So we have learned that hustle, but he's been doing it so long. You
Since
know,
the
when you bring
'90s.
up Tech and I, he's been doing it since then. So
Yeah,
that
since the '90s.
so yeah, yes, you're 100% on point. So let me ask you, let's flip it. Let's flip it.
Go ahead.
So let me ask you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a DJ,
Yep.
what's more fun for you? Day parties or night parties?
Um, that's a tough question because every every event is going to provide its own energy. I mean, I was joking with some of my other DJ friends. I'm like, listen, after this whole COVID thing, like, I don't think I'm going to be doing too many more evening parties because I find myself like tired by like 11 o'clock because I've been at home this whole time, and day parties offer a different element, but I think it's basically based on the energy of the people who come. Like, you can have 200 people at night and they just have poor energy. But if you have like 40 people at a day party and like everybody is like on that vibe and have good energy and they there to have a good time, everyone wall to wall will have like the time of their life and be home by 8 o'clock. So I think a lot it's and I know that's not really answering the question because just I'm an energy person because like I don't have a set playlist when I play. Like, I feed off the people. You know, I find the common denominator of the people in the room, and I try to give them what they want before they know they want it, and string everything together. So it's really based on the people.
Excellent answer. It is because I've been to numerous parties all over the world. I've seen DJs that DJ the dun 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 dun. dun. I've been in those
Yep.
parties to
Mm-hmm.
parties where I've been in North Carolina, but the DJ been in New York for the last 8 years, and
Right.
all you getting is straight gutter
Right.
90s, and you were just in there as a fan drinking like, oh my God, bro, you are going
Right.
in. So I've been on both sides. I've been in nice clubs where they're just gonna play top 40. So as a
Mm-hmm.
fan of music, I love DJs that walk in with no playlist, no idea who the crowd is. They just walk in and go, and stick their finger in their mouth and hold in the air like old men do to figure out which way the wind going.
Exactly.
All right, that's what I'm
Yep.
gonna do. And next thing you know, he them start playing Michael Jackson to Prince to Paul
Everything.
McCartney, and then flip it up on you and go straight gutter. And how he did it was so smooth. You was like, yo, I'm having a great time. I can't believe
Right.
he had me in here dancing to Michael Jackson off the wall tonight, man. I'm feeling good. You know what I'm saying? I
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
that party. And most people who I talk to within life, they like that party. We like the journey that DJs like you take us through.
Definitely. I mean, because see, the thing, I think a lot of people they recognize it, but they haven't had a chance to really just like speak it. We have such an emotional connection to music, and when we hear a certain song, whether it's new or old, especially if it's an older song, it instantly will take you back to a time, good or bad, You know, because I mean, there's a bunch of songs where you be like, "Oh man, I remember when old girl did this to me." You know what I mean? But we have such an emotional connection to music that when we hear that Michael Jackson song, or we hear this Prince song, or we hear a Naughty by Nature song, or we hear something that like wasn't even like a super popular song, but like a B-side, you go back to that moment. You could. It's been times where you can remember what day it was, what you had on, what you did that whole day, just from that one song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a DJ, being able to provide that element of like being able to escape and have fun and reminisce, and you know, and my approach when I do parties or whatever is I either want to play this music that's gonna celebrate the victories in your life and the good times, or if you going through something, them 2-3 minutes will allow you to escape to a better place to manage what you got going on.
All I can say is that makes me think of the song "The DJ Saved My Life." It's like exactly. An '80s song. That's what it makes me think of, bro. When
Man,
you expressing that, that's what it makes me think of, because I can remember being in Japan and being homesick, and it was a DJ named DJ Rasta Root to me, and he was like one of the people you got in contact with if you was an artist, big or small, when you came to Japan at the time. And so me and him had a working relationship, and I went to one of his parties. Now, I had seen him DJ several times, but for whatever reason, it was like he was feeling my personal vibe and putting it in out there. So everything he played was like classics, like the Transformers song. And I was like, what is you doing with the Transformers song, bro? And he was just taking me through this journey musically in a party. And I was like, is he feeling me? What? This is so weird. Like, most DJs don't play Keith Sweat. It's the 90s, but most DJs don't play Keith Sweat, you know what I'm saying, in the party, unless they play and Make It Last Forever. That's pretty much how much Keith you gonna get in a live party. Like, we played at the house playing spades, but they don't play it in a party much. Even in the time period where he was still hot. And it was hilarious that I got like 3 Keith Sweat songs out of him. It was like, bro, you got nasty for no reason, my G. It was like Keith Sweat and R. Kelly back to back. What are you doing?
I'm sure that party got real interesting.
It did. It was a ball. So I would like to talk about the A2 talk, but I do need, you know what they say, you gotta pay them bills. I do need to take a commercial break. So gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about guns, and more guns. Is that all right with you?
I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. Let's do it.
All right. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Hey, are you tired of having that upset stomach, that bubbly guts feeling? Then I need you to get with Tyrone's Gas X. That's right, Tyrone's Gas X is known to stop upset stomach, farting, wet farting, hard farting, bubble guts, squishy guts, and the runs.
Please use as directed. Side effects may be hair loss, weakness of jawline, weakness of pull-out game, lip dick, and pimples.
Tyrone's Gas X. Stop you from having that shitty feeling.
Yeah, you know what it is. Shots Fired podcast popping.
Welcome back to Shots Fired with Simon Phoenix.
So now let's discuss 2A. So
let's do it.
So for my listeners, anytime you hear somebody refer to 2A, what they're talking about is the Second Amendment and how it plays out. And I know this is a weird transition for some people, but because you are a guy who has recently started a business teaching people gun safety, I thought that you, more than anyone I know currently, is the perfect person to bring on the show to have that conversation about, hey, what's your thought about guns and so forth. So first, let's start off with the real question. What are you currently doing with business? What's the business name? And then what is it really about?
Okay, well, I am the owner operator and lead instructor of my company, Freedom Elevated Defense Solutions. And it's something that I've had on the back burner for a minute. COVID has allowed me to really have the time to sit down and invest in and make that pivot. I've been actively involved with like Second Amendment things for quite some time. I just never really put it all the way out there. But I've been running classes and empowering folks, man. It's a great thing. And I think especially for our community, there's such a stereotype or stigma around firearm ownership. Is always associated with somebody doing something illegal, or you're a criminal, or you up to no good. And that's from our own folks. And my passion is to change that narrative, where what the new firearm owner in our country looks like is everybody. It look like you, it look like me, it look like my kids, it look like, the 23-year-old college student, whoever. Like, it's for everyone. And I think that, part of my passion is to get folks on that page, is at least discover it and see what it is, and dispel any myths that's out there.
Well, what can I say to that? As, man, there's so many things to unpack with that, right? So
let's do it.
I'm gonna try to do it piece by piece. So my next question would be then, what made you get into guns? What opened your gun door for you?
Okay, well, I've been around guns pretty much my whole life. My dad, we'd make our trips down south, and we'd go down there, and he'd let me shoot his guns and stuff like that. And I never was like into hunting or anything. And even in school, I was like on the rifle team and traveled with different with our school team or whatever. And the thing that really turned the corner for me is like 2021, and I got my first rifle. And ever since then, it's just been kind of like a progression of just really more and more and more, and just I feel it. It's a great stress reliever for me. Like, it allows me to focus. You know how some people go golf or do whatever. Like, I like to go to the gun range because it's like me and that target, and it's me working on my fine mechanics, and it's just one of those things that I really enjoy. And from that passion, it's like, you know what? Let me help some other folks out, because I was getting a lot of questions. And what should I do? What should I get? What do you think? And it was just like, you know what? Let me kick it up a notch and help some folks out in the proper way.
Well, that's very commendable for you. I see it as it was definitely needed, and it was needed in a way that was really strange to me. I came into guns the opposite way of a lot of us in Black America.
Right.
I knew my parents had guns, but I was never taken out to go shoot or anything like that. I was never given any gun safety. Just,
Right.
My parents was looking at me like, boy, use common sense. Don't load that. Don't shoot that. If you know it's in there, we got a shotgun.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of that too on my end. It was just with those 1 to 2 times a year we would go down south and we were out in the field. All right, you can come shoot my 357. That's about it. And I just was so fascinated with it. But no, I get you.
No. You like, I commend that. Even that much was commendable. I'm a person who is super 2A, but I got that because I went to the Marines, learned about firearms, learned about guns, learned about other countries, how they treated firearms, came back to America, and then was like, I like guns. But I was under the same thing you were talking about, which was the idea that they're bad, that everyone is scared of them. So I didn't get into ownership until I've probably been a gun owner for probably like the last 5 years, 6 years. And the whole thing that made me go get a gun was I was like, I'm a grown ass man in a country where I could own a firearm. I'm Black, and there's crazy people out here.
Definitely.
I could go to the next step, which would say it could be a zombie apocalypse or aliens show up. I would at least like to be able to defend myself and my family.
That's your ass.
Right?
That is literally your ass.
Right?
the tipping point for me is I had a piece where I stayed in Detroit, and I was there in '03, and there was a massive blackout on the whole East Coast. I don't know if you remember it. And when it happened, me living there, being next to Dearborn, people started like losing their shit, thinking that it was a terrorist attack because there was no information coming out anywhere.
Right.
And that night, like, I got home, and I could tell you, it was a Thursday, the day before payday. So, you covered a little bare. Your gas tank ain't on. It's closer to E than F. So it was just one of those things where I'm at home, with my mom. And mind you, I'm a younger guy, so I'm there with her, my siblings and stuff. And I remember vividly walking to the store, and your debit card didn't mean shit because there was no power. It was like cash only. And they were charging like $20, $25 for a bag of ice because it was in August. And people were faced with a decision like, do I let my food go bad or do I cook it all up because I don't know what's going to happen? And like a large majority of the city of Detroit didn't have power for like 3 days. I lived really close to downtown, and I could see a lot of lights. That night, it was so dark, I couldn't see the sidewalk. And at that moment, I was like, yo, like, I remember telling my younger brother, like, listen, shit is happening all around us. If something happens, he's like 10. Don't worry about me. Just keep running home. And the slogan kind of what I always say, nobody's coming to save you, was kind of birthed at that point because it was so much stuff that happened. Stores was getting hit, people was getting robbed, a whole bunch of things happened that got reported, some didn't, but the reality is that you have to be the owner of your own safety for yourself and your loved ones at all times.
Correct. It's a situation where as an adult, I don't just want a one-word answer to chuckle, but when you're someone like me, that's how you view it. Exactly right. How you described it. No one's coming to save you.
Nobody at all.
By the time the police show up, the ordeal is going to be done.
Average response time for police is 8 to 10 minutes. And that's if you live close by. Don't live somewhere out in the sticks. It's even longer.
So, nah, bro, I'm not going to wait on you to save me. I'm going to save me because...
Nope, you can't.
I'm all I got. And then in my mind, what makes it make more sense is, remember when you was a young man and you would see those old guys, especially like in the country and definitely the further down south you would see them with like a knife on them. We talking about a good knife, like a knife that's in a case attached to their belt.
Yep. It was an everyday tool.
It was an everyday tool for them. And I used to wonder why, you carried a knife all the time. My dad had an uncle, and his name was Ali. My uncle Ali, he ain't had no teeth. He had 2 knives, had one of them little itty bitty pocket knives and a regular knife. And I would see him, in my mind as a kid, I would laugh to watch him eat ribs. But he would take a rib, and if the rib was cooked right, bro, he skinned the rib and be smashing. Get an apple and crush it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, my dad was like, there's always a way, and you just need to know the right tool.
Right.
And that's kind of stuck with me. And so I was like, oh, that makes sense. And the older I got, I was like, oh, that's why dudes carry knives with them. Knives are very useful. And then that transferred over to firearms to say, hey, the best situation I can be in if someone does something stupid is to have my firearm right then and there to protect myself.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
And so when guys like you step up to the plate and say, hey, I know a little something about firearms, I would like to help you know a little something about firearms, especially if you're going to go out and purchase. So, yeah.
A lot of times people have no idea how to go purchase a firearm that's for them. Like I tell people all the time, even through the courses, you have to go put this thing in your hand. And then once you buy it, like you can't buy it, leave it in the box and stick it in the closet. Like you have to continue to practice and shoot. Shooting is a diminishable skill. Like if you don't continue to do the work or date your gun, like you have to date your gun. If you're going to carry, you're gonna have to figure out different holster configurations. You may wear slacks Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends you may wear basketball shorts or jogging pants or something or whatever. You have to figure out how to maximize carrying your firearm in every situation, because you never know when something could happen where you will be forced to stop a threat and defend your life or the life of your loved ones.
Yeah. And yeah.
I mean, we just had the situation in Colorado.
Well,
at a supermarket.
I mean, well, since you brought it up, I was gonna bring it up, but I mean, since you beat me to
it,
we
can talk about it. Listen. We don't have to pull no punches, because I mean, this is the reality. Like, for too long, folks have tried to sugarcoat what this world is really about, and that hasn't helped us. We got to be 100% authentic about what is going on. Why is it happening? How to stop it, and not let false narratives control when they tell you what's best for you.
Well, I think when it comes down to gun ownership and what happens with let's call them your crazy people. Let's just put it on the floor. And you're crazy people, right? What happens is gun owners, those of us that are legal gun owners, are put into if guns weren't available, crazy people wouldn't exist. And then those of us that have common sense that are gun owners are going, 9 out of 10 shot, that is an illegal gun. And I can't control that Bob flipped the script when he came home and found his wife cheating. That got nothing to do with me in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Nothing to do with it.
I had nothing to do with that, bro, because guns exist has nothing to do with that. And we get caught into that argument. And and then the other side of it is, well, then there's people like us that then want to say, and he probably would have been stopped if you didn't have safe zones where you say guns shouldn't be. He probably would have been stopped if you wouldn't have had made society believe that carrying a firearm is such a crazy thing.
It's a negative thing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and when people present that perspective, the thing that I say is, how long has murder been illegal in our country?
Since there's been a country.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's already a crime to murder someone. If someone has ill intentions to hurt somebody or a bunch of people, they're gonna find a way. Look at the Boston Marathon attack. They basically put nails and screws and marbles in a pressure cooker. You can go to a regular store and buy that. They didn't have no guns, and they killed a bunch of people.
Well, I mean,
we gonna stop selling pressure cookers?
Of course not.
No, of course not. And the thing that I always tell people is, like, the firearm is the only thing that gets blamed. If me and you go to the bar and we get super drunk, and I get behind the wheel of a car, kill you, injure myself, and kill a family because me and you have had way too much to drink, they don't blame Ciroc, Patron. They don't blame Jack Daniels. Hell, they don't even blame the car that I was driving. They put it solely on me.
Because it's your fault, because you made the conscious decision.
Because the individual, the person, was the one that did the action, not the object that they used. It was the person. Because if I park a car, the car isn't going to magically get up and kill people unless we're talking about the movie Christine. Same rules apply with a firearm. A firearm is not going to magically get up and start killing people on its own. It doesn't work that way.
Well, of course it doesn't work that way. We're talking about a country that there's a firearm for everyone. Right now, there's a firearm for everyone. Everyone can get one. So what are you talking about? Because if guns was really the killer, right? When you're talking, when you're having that conversation, when guns are really the killer, guns are so dangerous. They're so scary, Simon. They're the killer. And then then dirtbags like me go, well, it's more likely that you'll be stabbed to death. And more people are stabbed to death.
And that's a fact.
In America than shot.
More people are murdered with hands and feet than guns.
Shot with rifles. That's the actual gun for that quote. It's shot with rifles.
Right.
But you want to outlaw them. The gun that is less likely to kill you, that's the one you want because it's scary to you. That's the thing. It's so scary. You know, our current president is out here now once again trying to take the burners, the guns, the firearms, whatever you would like to call them, from us again under the guise of what happened in Colorado.
Of safety, yeah.
Because we would be safe, but you're protected by guns. I never get that. Like, how you gonna take guns away unless you take the guns from everybody? Unless you say America is going to be like a classic cartoon where they like, we got an army, but we just bring swords.
Right.
Because guns kill people.
And the most hypocritical thing about that is you're saying that we don't need it for our safety, but you literally have armed security everywhere you go. And in the big picture, in the grand, and in the grand scheme, in the big picture of the things, like, you work for the citizens. So we pay you, we pay the people who get paid to protect you, and we pay for the firearms that they use to protect you. But me and mine ain't good enough to have that.
It's mind-boggling to me that a group of people could see that you are going to say you're going to put all of your protection in someone. I got all kind of things just falling down. That someone is going that someone is going to protect you from something you're scared of now that they can't protect you from.
Right.
I never got that. Like, you expect the national government to put out more rules for people to follow that they're already not following the rules they have set forth. Like, if you started with murder, then if they were following the rules, then there would be no murder. But people
there would be no murder.
But people still murder. So you could take all the guns away, and your European countries have already showed you they try to take all the guns away, and then people start running around stabbing the hell out of each other. It turned into the Poke You show over there. Then they were trying to say, well, let's take all the knives away. Wait, so now I can't cut my sandwich in half? I gotta have the whole sub all at one time, bro, because I can't have no knife? That's what you're telling me?
And when I hear all that, the only thing that pops in my head is, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you going to do that you need to try to disarm as many people as possible because you know that you about to do some shit that a bunch of people is not going to be in line with, and they'll be willing to fight back if need be or defend themselves. Like, what are you willing to do? Because a lot of times these countries who create national gun registries or they have gun bans of their citizens, it never ends well for the citizens.
Yes. History has shown us that anytime that the government has decided to disarm, and it doesn't even mean just guns, just throughout history, anytime that they have made the common man disarm, the next thing you know, the common man was getting stepped on. That's just what it is.
That's just what it is.
So I, as a person, am always advocating gun ownership, gun usage, gun carrying, the whole shebang. I'm like, if you have the capability and the extra funds to go out and buy you a firearm, buy you at least 200 rounds of ammo for home and purposes of that nature that you're not using for practice, get familiar with the difference between carry rounds. So, you know, hey, I buy hollow tips and keep them on me. For that purpose.
Defensive rounds.
Yeah.
And then we have technology at our disposal where we can dry fire at home.
Yeah.
You know, you can dry fire at home and practice without using any ammo. With my courses, I have a simulator that I have as a tool where people can come when they come in and we do the class. Like, we build a strong foundation, but then we also, at the end of the class, after we discuss the legal parts of being a responsible gun owner in Michigan, we put you through a scenario training, and you have to respond in different scenarios, and every scenario is different for every student in the class, and the students and the lawyer will critique you on how you did.
Man, well, I'm gonna have to talk to you about that then, because I need that type of game. I want to do. I want to play.
Yeah.
I want to play.
The pistols recoil, so it's a great tool that I have with my company that for beginners, and they're so nervous about like shooting, it puts their mind at ease. So then we can really focus on the fundamentals: proper grip, trigger discipline, sight alignment. All of those things that's important before we even get to the range to shoot live ammunition. It really helps put them at ease, build their confidence. So then when we transition to the range, you're already 2 steps ahead. You're not really too worried about it, but we're still going to treat all guns and follow the 4 universal safety rules. Like, that's paramount. Like, I quiz everybody on that. Like, you can't be on a range with me and not know the 4 safety rules. Like, that's not even going to happen. Like, you can go home if you don't know the 4 safety rules on a range with me. Because, like, my job is to make sure you get home, and I'm definitely trying to get home. And we're not going to have any foolishness happen, because we've seen way too many YouTube and internet fails of people being reckless and doing stupid stuff with firearms. I mean, every year there's anywhere between 2,500 and 3,000 accidental discharges of firearms where people get severely injured or they die.
Well, it's really based around a lot of people haven't taken the time to learn proper firearms.
Nope.
And you have a lot of people who, when they got into them, their first teacher wasn't the person that took it super serious.
Right.
And so that in itself breeds for silliness.
And then, I mean, and keeping it all the way 100, I mean, especially with men, we come in with a whole bunch of, a lot of ego, because we watched all these action films and we kind of think that we know how this is supposed to work. Oh man, no, that's not it. Like, let's make sure that we do this right. Yes. Like, I flat out tell people, listen, when this class is done, I'm going to ruin all of your favorite action movies, because it's bullshit. Like, that's not how things really work.
Well, for those of us that are gun people, right? It turns into, I always make the joke that action movies are the fantasy of a gun person. And people are like,
yeah, absolutely.
You really think so? I'm like, well, bro, if you shoot firearms, then you know that, like, some of the worst places where people are having shootouts, you would be pissed off, because you're probably going to have fucked up hearing. They'd be like, what? I'd be like, bro, have you ever fired a gun? You know how loud that is? So think about no protection, you in the car, shooting out the car. Bro, those 7 rounds that you just let off are like huge thunderclaps. It is not in like
small space.
And I was like, yes, when your adrenaline and stuff is pumping, yes, you're going to be fine in the moment. But we talking about the aftermath, and the aftermath is going to be your ears are going to ring for the average person. Not everybody, but for the average person.
Yep.
It's like, dude. So I was like, when it comes to shooting in movies and you don't ever see the reload until it's convenient, I was like, those are things that gun dudes be looking at you like, nah, bro. Or just the size of some firearms that guys are shooting off. And you're like, no, man, no. Look, let me tell you, you're not going to shoot a Desert Eagle with one hand. I guarantee you.
Hell no.
I guarantee you. If you want your wrist, you will never shoot a Desert, bro. Yeah. For what? You gotta have your wrist blown up.
Shooting that gun. I hated shooting that gun.
Oh man, it's one of the worst firearms ever.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from a practicality point of view.
Yeah, nah. I mean, like, the only person I think that could probably have that firearm and carry it is like somebody like Shaq. Other than that, get out of here.
Well, yeah,
it's not practical at all.
I'm with you on that one. I definitely say a 7-footer or somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where you're that size of a guy where you can say, yeah, I'm huge, I got muscles, yeah, I'm shoot that as my carry gun or my preferred. Hey, it's a shootout and I need this. No, that's I wouldn't dare. That's last resort. To me, a regular person buys the Desert Eagle to put it in a box and sit it on the desk.
Yeah, it's a showpiece.
That to me is what you do. Hey, ain't it pretty? Yes, it's beautiful.
Right. It's a showpiece.
Yeah. So, okay, you got the classes going and you're teaching this information. I I guess for me, the next biggest gun question is when it comes to rifles, what
Yep.
is your rifle choice right now?
I, I love my AR. But I definitely am looking to build a long distance rifle. I'm going back and forth on what caliber I want to do. Like, do I want to do the Creedmoor? Do I want to just do the 308? Like, what do I want to do? So I'm been kind of bouncing back and forth on like what I want to do for a long range, because like that's the challenge. I want to be able to go ahead and put rounds on paper 800 yards away, 900 yards away, and have a really tight grouping. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, because it's like the challenge behind it. But go-to is the AR. Definitely currently trying to build an AR pistol myself. So, but those are kind of like my wish list.
So what do you think about that AR pistol format? Okay, wait, because I know people don't know. So let me put the disclaimer. AR pistol format means that the AR, it looks like an AR, but it's shooting pistol sized rounds. So that means like 9mm, 10mm, you can 22, so on and so forth.
But I mean, you could also get it in the rifle calibers as well. It's just a shorter barrel. I think that those are great options for smaller people. Because you may not be able to. We just literally were talking about the struggles of shooting a Desert Eagle because it's just way too big. Mm-hmm. And if you wasn't a 7-footer that was 280, you would have a hard time like managing that as an everyday thing. So like the AR pistol formats are great for smaller people. I take my kids shooting with a smaller AR. So, I mean, it's a great platform. And you can carry it. You can keep it in your car if you need to. I mean, it's a really universal platform that you could do a bunch of cool things. You can have it in 22, 9, 40, 45, 223, 556. Like, you could do a whole bunch, 300 blackout. You could do a whole bunch of things. It's a very versatile platform. So,
definitely,
definitely. That's one of the more appealing things I think a lot of people gravitate towards.
Well, it's just, you can have multiple guns for multiple things in that platform. And that platform is very forgiving if you are not very gun friendly. Basically, the opposite of everything Joe Biden ever said. I like the pistol format because it's better for close spaces. It's a better rifle to have in the house than the actual thing that Joe Biden tells you to have, which is a shotgun. You have a full size shotgun in the house, and you have intruders. It is
how you cornering?
It's hard
sweeping and clearing rooms.
Right. It's a hard thing to do from that standpoint if you are a smaller stature person, and even if you're a normal sized man. It's just unnecessary. If I could have a platform that would be smaller than that, it would make it easier. I could keep my firearm closer to my person, and that would make for a more efficient use. Right. But that's deep gun talk right there, bro. We done jump deep into gun talk.
That's 3 points of contact. We've been able to turn tight corners, get in and out of rooms and spaces and stuff, like in and out of cars, like all those kind of things. So I got you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, from a military point of view, that's how they teach it. So when you learn, when you start to learn what you would do in your house and why and so on and so forth, those kind of scenarios, then you're looking at the functionality of a firearm more than you're looking at it's just the firearm.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, compact pistol is a nice size. I like to have a lot of rounds. So 15 to 17 rounds is good for everyday carry type situation for me. And then I'm more of I like an AR. I'm personally looking into that right now. Strictly for the point of saying I would like to have something to put rounds down range. I feel like 100, 150 is a good space of that should be as far as I should have to throw rounds down range anyway, for my personal taste.
No, I got you.
But you know,
good luck getting some ammo right now.
Oh man, don't even get me started, sir. Don't even get me started.
I'm sorry, man. That's a rabbit hole.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole right there. Let's just say that the ability to get ammo currently in the United States is hard. It's very hard. In most places that you would go to even look at firearms, their firearm stock is very low.
Very low.
So you are probably, for something that you're looking for in a specific manner, it's probably a lot harder than what it was before.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. More people bought guns last year than I think almost in any time.
Well, anytime that you put a pandemic on the floor.
Oh, man. People was ready.
Racial
At
tension.
least they thought they was ready.
They were trying. They were trying to get there.
Yeah.
You have a pandemic. You have racial tension.
Aliens.
You got supposedly aliens. And then because it was a pandemic, you had the whispers in the darkness that no one wants to talk about, but a lot of people thought this was going to be the zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
So you tie all those things in a nice, neat little bow. Yeah, I'm sure that it's a whole lot of people that went out and said, let me get a gun just in case.
Yep.
Let me get a gun and a box of ammo just in case.
I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Exactly. So I need you to do me a favor, though, before I let you go, before I let you up out of here. I done had you for about a buck and some. So I need you to shout out all of your businesses that you got going. Okay. So let's do it like this. Let's start out with your DJ services and work our way into
Well,
firearms.
As folks know, it's DJ composition. It's been a minute since I did an event, but I look forward to getting back into the groove of things. And then my other passion that I'm currently doing right now and empowering folks is my firearm training business. That's Freedom Elevated Defense Solutions. So you can reach me on that platform on all social media, Freedom Elevated. And then my website is www.freedomelevated.net. So if you're interested in joining us for some classes and getting some perspective and having a good time and getting empowered, come give me a yell. We'll get you together. And if you don't have a firearm, don't worry about it. We have firearms available to rent for the testing portion. Come check out our simulator. It's really good stuff that we're doing and putting together, and I'm excited about the future and the things that I want to build it out to be, because I'm really passionate about it and empowering folks and eliminating the stigmas that's associated with firearm ownership.
Well, I appreciate you coming to the show. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on.
Man, I appreciate both of your passions, from a music hip hop head. What can I say? From the MC in you to the DJ in you, I commend you. From a business point of view, oh man, I'm telling you, I thank you for coming on the show, baby. You already know, man. I'm appreciative of you being on the show, trying to show you that love, because I feel like everybody deserves a chance to shine. So y'all get with him. You already know he doing too much for y'all not to get with him. Y'all know where y'all at.
Nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you, except for the DJ. The DJ will come save you.
The DJ will save your life for the night on the dance floor.
Oh man, I started to cue that up, but I don't want nobody to holler at me for copyright.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you very much, DJ Composition, for coming through. This has been your boy, Simon Phoenix. Shots fired. I'll holla.
All right. Later.
Peace.